Nepal, a small country stretching east-west in almost a rectangular shape, is sandwiched between two giant countries of Asia. China in the north and India in the south, stretching east-west in parallel lines. The high Himalayan mountains in the northern region, in almost the central part of the middle hilly region, is situated in the Nepal Valley, called at present Kathmandu Valley, which contains in it the three famous cities of Nepal: Kantipur, called as Kathmandu, Lalitpur, called as Patan, and Bhatgaon, also called as Bhaktapur. These three cities had become, in various periods of history, the capital of Nepal. And in the medieval period, 15th to 18th century, all these three cities had simultaneously been the capitals of three kingdoms ruled by three kings of Malakh dynasty. As such, the Nepal Valley is also known as the Valley of Three Cities. This valley, inhabited by the indigenous Newar community, is the seat of the development of rich civilization of Nepal, particularly famous for the highly developed art and architecture. Nepal was ruled by monarchs of different dynasty in succession and saw the flourishes of art and architecture, particularly during rules of Lichavi dynasty, 3rd to late 13th century, and Malakh dynasty, 14th to 18th century. The Malakh period, although split into three parallel kingdoms ruled by the same dynasty, marks the highest flourishment of art and architecture. Some temples and stupas are built in Lichavi period. Innumerable temples, stupas and monuments of three parallel Malakh kingdoms of Kantipur, Lalitpur and Bhaktapur are three famous historic squares containing clusters of architectural monuments and edifices. These three palace squares and other places of cultural heritage have made the Nepal Valley, Kathmandu Valley, an open art museum of exquisite architectural collection. Once, Queen Maya Devi of Kapilvastu in Nepal saw in her dream a white elephant holding a lotus flower in its trunk enter her body. Sometime later, on her way to parental home in Devda, she gave birth to Siddhartha Gautam in Lumbini forest. Royal priest forecasted that Prince Siddhartha will become Samyak Buddha in future. At the age of 7, Prince Siddhartha practicing meditation. Prince Siddhartha rescued a wild goose shot with an arrow by the cousin Devdatta. Siddhartha came to keep the goose by saying, "Savior has greater right than the killer." Prince Siddhartha, skilled in archery, enabled him to hit the target by hearing the sound. Prince Siddhartha got married with his cousin Princess Yasodhara of Devda. Prince Siddhartha came to know the inescapable truth of illness, old age, and death. At the age of 29, he left the palaces and his newborn son Rahul. He cut his hair as a sign of renunciation and vowed not to return to the palace. Acharya Alar Alam taught him the seventh technique meditating known as Akichanyaya. Acharya Uddakrama taught him the eighth technique of meditation known as Naiva Sangyan Sangya. Meditation and penance for 6 years, he realized the uselessness of starving and giving pain to self. Then he started deep contemplation, and during which he ate milk rice offered by Sujata. During contemplation, he remained undisturbed at the disturbance created by onslaughts of mar, passions. In the end, he got enlightened as a result of 49 days of contemplation and became Buddha. Two merchant brothers on the way through the forest offered grain powder and honey to Buddha, the enlightened one, and vowed to become his disciple. Buddha started in Sarnath preaching his message to first 5 Brahmin, young ascetics, who became his disciples. Buddha, along with 1006 disciples, visited Bibisar, king of Magad. Buddha, accompanied by his monk disciples on his visit to native place Kapilvastu, was entertained with a feast by King Suddhodhan. Buddha himself went to visit his wife Yashodhara in her chamber. Buddha admitted his son Rahul as an acolyte monk. Angulimal, a violent criminal who came to attack Buddha, was conceived by Buddha's message of peace and joined his Sangha brotherhood as a monk. Prajapati Gautami, Buddha's aunt cum stepmother, was admitted as a nun in his Sangha. Patachara, a bereaved woman who lost her husband and both sons, became completely insane, was pacified by Buddha with his explanation of the inescapable death. Devadatta, being jealous of his popularity, tried to kill him by dropping a boulder on him, but Buddha narrowly escaped. Buddha ate meat food offered by a cobbler, regarded as untouchable, to show his protest on his caste distinction, and got ill with dysentery. Subhadra, the last person to be indoctrinated by Buddha and admitted as a monk in his Sangha just before his nirvana. Buddha attained Mahaparinirvana, end of life, at a spot between 2 sal trees in Kushinagar. Buddha's ash relics were distributed to various states. Later in century 249 BC, Emperor Ashoka of India spread message of Buddha in far and wide many countries of Asia and placed many stones inscriptions containing teaching of Buddha. Before his Mahaparinirvan, he forecasted that the 4 places will become places of pilgrimage for followers of Buddhism, namely Lumbini, his place of birth, Bodh Gaya, the spot where he got enlightened, Sarnath, the place where Buddha gave his first sermon, and Kushinagar, the place of his Mahaparinirvana. Among these 4 sacred places, Lumbini is the first one. To the Lumbini. Nepal is also famed as the land with the highest mountain peak of the world, Chomolingma, Mount Everest, and the land of the birthplace of Buddha. Since then, 3rd century BC, excavation of the area was done to find out historic relics and monuments from 3rd centuries BC to 7th centuries AD. Later, the whole area along with all these historic relics were buried due to some cause still unknown, and the area turned into a dense forest. Even the Ashok pillar marking Buddha's place of birth of lost and forgotten, and only the pillar was discovered. And many governments and associations of various other countries have conducted many monuments, edifiers, temples and vihars, monastery, and developed Lumbini as one of the exquisite cultural heritage of the world. The pond where Maya Devi took bath before giving birth to Buddha, with Ashok pillar and temple consecrated to Maya Devi in the background. The Pushkarini, holy pond, close by the Ashokan pillar on the southern part is Holy Pond, which is believed to be holy just before giving birth to Shakyamuni Buddha. It is also a place where the infant Siddhartha Gautam was given his first purification bath. Pillar erected by Ashok with inscription making the spot of Buddha's birth. The Ashokan pillar bears the first epigraphic evidence relating to the birthplace of Buddha. The inscription engraved by Emperor Ashok is still intact and testifies the authenticity of the birthplace, scripted in Brahmi script and Pali language, is translated as King Piyadashi Ashok, the beloved of the gods, in the 20th year of his reign, himself made a royal visit. Shakyamuni Buddha was born here. Therefore, the birth spot, Marcus stone, was worshipped and the tax of the Lumbini village was reduced to the 8th part only. Ruins of the edifiers and monuments existing till 7th century and later buried, recently excavated. Originated idol of Maya Devi showing giving birth to Buddha dated back to 4th century AD. Marker stone, the exact marking spot where Buddha was born. This stone conglomerate located deeply buried in the scantum pinpoints the exact location of the birth of Shakyamuni Buddha. This was discovered after meticulous excavation of the Maya Devi temple site in 1996 AD. The exact size of marker stone is 70 by 40 by 10 centimeter. The further excavation is still going on.